of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, born on May 6, 1856, and died September 23, 1939. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for evaluating and treating pathologies explained as originating in conflicts in the psyche through dialogue between a patient and a psychoanalyst. Freudian theory postulates that adult personality is made up of three aspects. 1. The ID, operating on the pleasure principle generally within the unconscious. 2. The ego, operating on the reality principle within the conscious realm. And 3. The superego, operating on the morality principle at all levels of. Theories of Jean Piaget. Piaget is a Swiss psychologist who developed a theory of cognitive development. Piaget was born August 9, 1896 and died September 16, 1980. Schema is a term he used to present the building blocks of knowledge. Assimilation is using an existing schema and applying it to a new situation or ages. Accommodation is changing up rack on existing schema doesn't work in particular situation. Aviculation is the arriving force that moves all development progress. Use building instead it move in leads or burn according to experience. By using Piaget theory in the classroom, teacher and student benefit in several ways. Teachers develop a better understanding of their student thinking. They can also alter teaching strategies with their student cognitive level, etc. Motivational, set modeling, and assignments.
Erikson maintained that personality developed in a predetermined order through 8 stages of psychosocial development from infancy to adulthood. During each stage, the person experienced a psychosocial crisis which could have a positive or negative outcome for personality development. According to the theory, successful completion of each stage results in a healthy personality and the acquisition of basic virtue. Basic virtue are characteristic strengths which the ego can use to resolve subsequent crises. Vygotsky social-cultural theory believed that human development and learning originate in social and cultural interactions. In other words, the ways people interact with others and the culture in which they live shape their mental abilities.
Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory is one of the most accepted explanations regarding the influence of social environments on human development. This theory argues that environment you grow up affects every phase of your life. Social factors determine your way of thinking, the emotion you feel, and your likes and dislikes. If you change your environment, you'll change. If you move to another country with a different culture, your identity will certainly change. The same can happen if your social role within one of the 5 systems changes. The 5 systems include microsystem, made up of the groups that have direct contact. Mesosystem, the relationship between the groups from the first system. Exosystem, factors that affect an individual's life but the elements of this system don't have a direct relationship with the individual. Macrosystem contains those cultures, elements that affect the individual and everyone around them. Chronosystem, the stage of life that the individual is in regarding the situation they're going through. During the 1890s, Russian psychologist Ivan Pavlov was researching salivation in dogs in response to being fed. He inserted a small test tube into the cheek of each dog to measure saliva. When the dogs were fed with a powder made from meat, Pablo predicted that dogs would salivation in response to the food placed in front of them, but he noticed that his dogs would begin to salivate whenever they heard the footsteps of his assistant who was bringing them the food.
A professor of education at Harvard University, it suggests that the traditional notion of intelligence based on IQ testing is too far limited. Instead, Dr. Gardner proposes 8 different intelligence to account for a broader range of human potential in children and adults. These intelligence are linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, musical intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, and naturalist intelligence. Dr. Gardner says that our schools and culture focus most of their attention on logical mathematical intelligence. We esteem the highly articulate or logical people of our culture. However, Dr. Gardner says that we should also place equal attention on individuals who show gifts in the other intelligences. The artists, architects, musicians, naturalists, designers, dancers, therapists, entrepreneurs, and others who enrich the world in which we live. So, operant conditioning, or which is also known as instrumental conditioning, is a method of learning normally attributed to B.F. Skinner, where the consequences of a response determine the probability of it being repeated. Through operant conditioning, behavior which is reinforced or rewarded will likely be repeated, and behavior which is punished will occur less frequently. The work of Skinner was rooted in a view that classical conditioning was too far simplistic to be a complete explanation of complex human behavior. He believed that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of an action and its consequences.
John Flavel, born in August 9, 1926 in Rockland, Massachusetts. He is an American development psychologist specializing in children's cognitive development. Flavel has conducted extensive research into metacognition and the child's theory of mind. One of his most famous contributions to the field is work on children's developing understanding of the distinction between appearance and reality. These studies assess young children's ability to acknowledge that a given object is really one kind of thing, or that a given piece of material is really one color, yet appears to be another color under particular circumstances. Flavel interprets these developmental differences, suggesting that children acquire the notion of mental representation of reality as distinct from reality itself. Edward Thorndike was an American psychologist who spent nearly his entire career at Teachers College, Columbia University. His work on comparative psychology and the learning process led to the theory of connectionism and helped lay the scientific foundation for educational psychology. He also worked on solving industrial problems such as employee exams and testing. He was a member of the board of the Psychological Corporation and served as president of the American Psychological Association in 1912. Edward had a powerful impact on reinforcement theory and behavior analysis, providing the basics framework for empirical laws in behavior psychology with his laws of effect. Through his contribution to the behavioral psychology field came his major impacts on education, where the laws of effect has great influence in the classroom.